This opportunity on behalf of Republican Sinn Féin in Monaghan, thank each and every one of you for coming here today. The monument here of volunteer Fergal. Before we start, just want to let you know that we'll be laying a wreath here, and then after that we're going to reassemble up at the cathedral here in Monaghan. I'd like people to assemble there for 3 o'clock, where we will march from the cathedral road out to the resting place of volunteer Fergal. Now, I would like to call on Martin Duffy to lay a wreath on behalf of the leadership of the Republican movement.
Falta Rose, Dini, Capitani August, Adini Ushli, Golair, Moran on a dumpster, Behan Shahan Yu, Elmo Carole, Aganui, Ogla, volunteer, Fergal O'Hanlon. Damage on Shahan Yu, Bomas is Coveney Hurch, Ogli, Fergal O'Hanlon, August Arnui, Ogli, Sean South, Ascarion, Dundee Lumney. Purina Bird, Spear Kruger, a Chianta, a Comrade, Saran, Poblock, Nahern, Unsi Horch, our Barrack RUC, and Malia Brook, a County Armagh. Up for our Hitche, a Cussant, and Public Nahern. Drucker County is a Doa League. And Shin, and Ejag, Kurgashat. We're here today to remember volunteer Fergal O'Hanlon and volunteer John South from Garryowen, County Limerick, who went out on the first day of the year 1957 to defend the 32 county All-Ireland Republic. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask for the wreath to be laid, first and foremost, on behalf of the Republican leadership, on behalf of the Republican movement, by John Connolly. At the end of the wreath on behalf of Republican Sinn Féin by Eddie McKeown. I would ask Darian O'Donnell to lay a wreath on behalf of Republican Sinn Féin in County Cavan. And now, we have Daniel for lay a wreath on behalf of Republican Sinn Féin in County Monaghan. Thank you, Daniel. Now ask for the piper to play a lament and for the lowering of the flags.
That's great.
Now, to say in our Father, three Hail Marys, for the repose of the souls of these volunteers. Ar nahar a thar now, good evening, Danam, good dag of the rate, the yenter and huller and talif and yenter and now. Ar nahar na hu turdu and you out from my hinter back in the bar, all you made to back in the fair, and I was election, I got who a cheer shin a whole command. She the bar were a tall on the grass at town, she and not the spanny who the manas, spanny turdu Vanessa. And Eve were her jay go in the packing issue of his were washing man. She the bar were a tall on the grass at town, she and not the spanny who the manas, spanny turdu Vanessa. And Eve were her jay go in the packing issue of his were washing man. She the bar were a tall on the grass the Clipchamp lads funny who had them and asked funny turtle Vanessa and he were her day poor and fucking ish of us were washing man. Lower of us and our of us and mark of us and lower spirit of man. There's an ish now call on our President Joseph Malone from County Armagh for the main oration, and I don't think that Joe will have too much unsaid.
Jerem Guramahagwif don looked Corlia Coiga Ola a ho Curadum shot on shot August Laurton shot in you egg on Oig shot Oig Banaha Oig in a will Lakra a Hoga Hale or son Searson a Heron Shaska Coig Blin O'Hin Sheshin Fergal O'Hanlon. A thank you to Corlia Ola who invited me here today to speak at this grave, the grave of patriot Fergal O'Hanlon, who gave his life for his country in New Year's Day 1957. I was only a child when I first heard of Fergal O'Hanlon, and how I heard it was my mother used sing Sean south of Garryowen at house dances in our home, and also at carnivals and concerts. And incidentally, the concerts would be run by the nuns to raise money for the missions. At the time, it didn't mean much to me. I heard the song numerous times, not fully understanding the significance of it. It was years later when I read about the events of Brookborough and the sacrifices made by O'Hanlon and South on that dreary New Year's Day in 1957. Operation Harvest, sometimes called the Border Campaign, was underway, having started on the 12th of December, 3 weeks previously to that New Year's Day. Fergal O'Hanlon was a member of the Pierce column. The unit had already carried out operations in Armagh and Fermanagh, and they were constantly on the move from base to base throughout Fermanagh. On the first day of New Year, the Pierce column decided to attack Brookborough Barracks. It is a town about 40 minutes drive from here. And many here today are familiar with what happened on that day 65 years ago, and I will be brief as to the events. The attack took place in order to procure much needed arms by the Irish Republican Army. The attack was timed for earlier in the evening, about 5:30, but delays caused it not to take place until 7 p.m. And 14 men of the Pierce column arrived by lorry outside the barracks. There were the aforementioned Fergal O'Hanlon and Sean South. Also, there was Daithí O'Connell of Cork, Sean Garland Dublin, Liam Nolan Dublin, Phil O'Donoghue also from Dublin, Harry Goff from Wexford, Paddy O'Regan Dublin, Packy Tierney Fermanagh, Sean Scott from Galway, Vincent Conlon from from Armagh, Pat Connolly from Fermanagh, Mick Kelly Galway and Mick O'Brien from Dublin. The success or otherwise of the operation depended on the 2 mines the volunteers had, depended on them exploding. But both failed to go off. And this proved detrimental to the volunteers. On top of that, the lorry wasn't parked in the most ideal position, and the men were sitting targets from the fire directed within the barracks. Fergal O'Hanlon was wounded in both legs, and Sean South was riddled with bullets. 4 more of the volunteers were wounded, and luckily the whole unit wasn't wiped out. Fergal's comrades carried him to the lorry and placed him beside Sean South, who was lying in a pool of blood. The lorry drove away, not making great pace as the tyres had been shot out. They were pursued by the enemy, but they didn't catch up on them. Sean South, on the point of death, and O'Hanlon, unconscious, were left in a farm building. And some reports say, when the police did arrive, the bodies were mutilated, or the body of Sean South. The rest made a 5-hour journey across the mountains into County Monaghan, and they were subsequently arrested by the Free State forces. O'Hanlon and South were now dead. Their bodies were brought to Enniskillen Hospital for post-mortem, and they reposed overnight in Monaghan Cathedral. That was on Thursday the 3rd. And the 2 funerals took place the following day, Friday the 4th. And we're told that massive crowds attended the funerals. Noel Kavanagh from Dublin gave the oration here at Fergal O'Hanlon's grave. And during the address he said, "Anybody here today that doesn't understand why Fergal O'Hanlon fought and died is standing here insulting volunteer Fergal O'Hanlon." And military honours were rendered by Fergal's comrades. And as Paddy Kavanagh the poet said, Fergal, or as Paddy would say, Fergal lies here in the stony grey soil of Monaghan. He forever lies in this sacred spot. And I came across a few lines relating to Fergal O'Hanlon that said, "In Maguire's land, at the dawning of the year, they faced the might of Britain without fear. Their lives they gave that Ireland might be free, red blood to feed the flame of liberty. From Monaghan came young O'Hanlon bold, the land that nurtured Connolly years now old. With conscience clear and soul all saintly white, he went to meet the Lord of Justice on that night." Now, Cehe Fergal O'Hanlon. Well, Rugaway in Monaghan, Lord Journey to Anner, Nijek Truck a Shea. Drastel Shea on Skull na Shunta, August and a year shin on Man Skull, Vic Cartoon. Teresh the Quich Idicus, Hussig Shea, a gobber le Corlia Kunda Winacon. Agus na dhí sin, caiise tamil le gobar I Máile Clia. Bhí sé na baul de óglaigh na hÉireann ó Isha Hugéig. Ní raibh sé ach beagnach fithe héin nuair a caile away. Fergal O'Hanlon was born in Monaghan town on the 31st of January 36. Now, someone else gave me a different date. He was son of Eugene and Alice, and after attending local and national secondary school, he commenced employment as a clerical officer with Monaghan County Council, later being an apprentice draftsman. After this, he worked in Dublin for a time. He was also a member of a Sinn Féin Cumann, the McMahon Cumann. At the age of 18, he joined Óglaigh na hÉireann, and as usual, he would have attended training camps. Shailach Gaelga aba winter I Hanlún. Vi Simic Fergal in a Yonga Duakish. Gael Gordon Scott aba he. Screeshe alternate os Gaelga. The O'Hanlon family were native speakers, the whole family. Fergal loved the Irish language. And he was a believer in what Pádraig McPearce's words when the latter said regarding our freedom, Ní amháin séir ach géalach, comma, ní amháin géalach ach séir comma. he followed what Pearse had said regarding the unity of the country. It's not, you have to be free as well as Gaelic, and Gaelic as well as free. Peladordan Sco a ba Fergal, dimmer chefe ish, sóir agus sínsir den club. Agus turéir jalraf, Mura Broogborough, go make Gansi, Gurum agus Bán a Chahavege, Shin Dohana a Chunde. But for the events of New Year's Day in '57, it is almost certain that Fergal O'Hanlon would lined out for County Monaghan for the senior football team. He starred at underage, at junior and senior for his club. He was also a club officer and played handball. He was an all-round Gael. Coda Harla o Hampshire, Broogborough o Hinny Le. Well, Lirahrig Rudder Bay. What has changed since Broogborough regarding Irish freedom? Nothing. Part of our country is still occupied by the enemy. The other part, the Free State, acts in the interests of the enemy and has done so since its inception. It does the bidding of the bosses in Westminster. We have seen countless executions, murders, draconian laws, internments, imprisonments, the hounding of Republicans in life and in death. We remember the events of 1976, and this is what the Free State done. And we remember in '76 and the actions of Paddy Cooney and company in League Cemetery in Ballina, when concrete was poured over poor Frank Stagg, the hunger striker. We also remember the events of 2001 too, when fellow travellers of Cooney poured concrete on pits of weapons that would have supported the freedom of our country. Frank Stagg's body was retrieved. The guns are forever entombed in the earth. One wonders, did the concrete come from the same source? Just as Cooney and company showed contempt for Frank Stagg and republicanism, so too did the renegades that sold out in '86 show contempt and scant regards for the materials of war and for republicanism. All acting in the interests of the enemy. Shame on them all puppets of Britain. So nothing has changed since Broogborough. Things have got worse. There is one way to effect change. It is the way of O'Hanlon and Sean South and their comrades in the 50s. It is the way of Emmett and Tone in 1798. The way of the Young Irelanders in 48, and the Fenians, and the way of Pádraig Pearse and James Connolly in 16. It is the way of every generation of militant republicanism. It is the way of Óglaigh na hÉireann, the lawful army of our country. There is no other way to bring about the freedom of our country. Whilst we in Sinn Féin can play our part in a variety of ways, be that attending commemorations like here today, promoting Éire Nua, Sale Nua, selling our newspaper Saoirse, selling Easter lilies, attending functions and much more. That is all good, but unfortunately more needs to be done to bring about the freedom of Ireland, a freedom that O'Hanlon and company yearn for. When that freedom comes about, when that freedom is achieved, it is not those that are elected to undemocratic institutions that will decide our future. It will be the Republican movement that will do so. Sinn Féin needs new members. We need to grow. But as I said before, we must tread with caution. We want quality, not quantity. And Rory O'Brady often said that you follow the ideal. You follow the message, the true gospel of republicanism. You don't follow the person or persons. And many times the reverse has happened, particularly in 1986. And many at that time were easily led and led astray from republicanism. Unfortunately, some were set up, some of these people, and later were done to death. And should we be surprised at the actions of our former comrades? And they are the real dissidents who misuse our name. The people that apologised for military operations of the past, that embrace and handshake British royals. These are cunning. The Irish people all the time, they are cunning the Irish people all the time. These people masquerading as republicans. Nothing but one sellout after another. So there are others then that stayed the course for a while and left. And we must be cautious also, particularly if those that are long in the tooth. Some have seen the errors of the way, but many have made a mistake in the past and they could do so again. But of the younger people that have gone to other groups, we will treat them differently and they'll get a solid Republican education if they come our way. Sorry, that Ryan has this down. They must be told that there is but one true Republican movement, and we belong to that movement. The Scríomh Pádraig Mac Piarsaigh na Bhursaí seo leanús bheith bhean a chail a bhach agus é óg. An tá sé rúnach freisin mar gheall muintir ó Hanlún I 1957. Is brón ar an más sé dubh mo críise. Sé a dúdig mo gráhhaim is a dog me go clíse. Gan corrit nó campánach fe dhíon muid mo híise. Ach man leanach lár agus mé ag cuinú. I'll just give one of the verses. It's words from Pádraig Mac Piarsaigh, and he talks about the death of a child, and it's unnatural that any parent should have to bury a child. And it happened many times in Irish republicanism down through the years. And he talks about the suffering and the grief of the parent when they're left without a favourite son. And as I said, Pearse could have written these lines for the O'Hanlon family and for all the parents that lost sons in engagements against the enemy over the years. Those people that were either shot or hung from the British and Free State gallows. We remember with pride Fergal O'Hanlon, who died 65 years ago. When dhéanamh tí a trócla ar a anam úsil an phoblach a bú.
No, I'm talking about all of those things, Joe, thank you very much. You covered most of the ground and talked about the sellouts on one thing and another. With that in mind, we remember other people, just those people that you spoke of, who have given their lives. And without any further ado, I'd ask Daniel Dolan, the son of a former comrade of many people here, Jim Lina, to lay a wreath down at his father's grave. And go ahead there, Daniel. So all of these things, I want to tell the men down there holding up the wall of the church that we'll gather our people together as the sellout continues. We will gather our people together and we will rise again. And we will not be wanting. And we will not be joining with NATO, and we will not be joining with any other organisation across the world, whether it be in the United States of America or Europe or anywhere else. We will stand as a Republican movement, and we will gain the freedom of this country one way or another. And I welcome here today those few people that were sent from South Armagh, from North Armagh, those people who have come from Derry and other places and lent their support here today. Remember that we are there in the occupied territory, and we will not remain in that occupied territory, but we will free that occupied territory. There is but less than 1%, less than 1% of the Irish people stands between us and our freedom. 1%. We're not talking about 1 million. But we equate those 1 million people as our people. But there are that 1% of bigots who will stand out, will fire petrol bombs and scare the republic that exists in the 26 counties, trying to fool the people that they are going to cause all kinds of mayhem if they do not get their way. The people who are ruling those people, the people who are governing those guys in the north, or Her Majesty's or His Majesty's government in London, they are the people who are telling the loyalists and telling the DUP what to do. They are using them as a lever against Europe. That is what is going on. They have fooled us. Boris Johnson has fallen on his sword for the cause of England and the imperial power in England. So also has Theresa May fallen on her sword in the interest of the imperialist power in London, and Liz Truss, all fall on the sword. They have fallen on the sword. They have taken somewhat of their decisions. They have taken them and wiped the slate. And now Rishi Sunak, he is in, and he is going to tell the people what to do. And Keir Starmer, he got up and he talked about doing away, repealing this legacy bill which is going through the British and English Parliament. And the reality is that by the time Keir Starmer does that, whenever that is, all of the British soldiers who murdered our people will be carrying their certificates of freedom. That's the bottom line. Who are they conning? Who does Keir Starmer, Sir Keir, who does he believe that he is conning? And they got a massive applause from the poor unfortunate Irish audience that he was going to repeal this awful law that the British were bringing in. They'll have it in and they'll have their soldiers cleared, and then they will bring back to repeal the law for to prosecute the rest of the Irish people. For to prosecute the Irish people. Anyway, if Daniel is back, okay, and we would ask, what's that man's name? Brendan McCord from Armagh, or South Armagh here to give us an edition of the Patriot Game. Thank you.
All you young rebels, and that's what I say. But the love of one's country is a terrible thing. It banishes fear with the speed of a flame, and it makes us all part of the Patriot Game. My name is O'Hanlon, I just turned 16. My home is in Monaghan, where I was wee. I learned all my life cruel England to blame. Thought it made me part of the Patriot Game. They told me how Connolly was shot in the chair. His wounds from the battle of Bleeding and Bare, his fine body twisted, tortured and laid, that soon made me part of the Patriot Game. It's barely 2 years since I wandered away with a local battalion of the Bold IRA, and I gave up my boyhood to drill and to trade, and I play my own part in the Patriot Game. This island of ours has our long been half free. 6 counties are under John Bull's tyranny, and most of our leaders are greatly to blame for failing their part in the Patriot Game. Now as I lie here, my body all holds, I think of those traitors who bargained and sold, and I wish that my rifle had given the same. There's cripplings his soul at the Patriot Game. So come all you young rebels, and this what I say. Well, the love of one's country is a terrible thing. It banishes fear with the speed of a flame, and makes us all part of the Patriot Game. And makes us all part of the Patriot Game. And makes us all part of the Patriot Game.
Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to detain you too long on that bad day. We have one more task, and that is a number of us, at least, for to go up to volunteer Sean Moore's grave and lay a floral wreath there on behalf of Republican Sinn Féin. So, I'll hand you back then to the Chief Marshal for the conclude there, for the organise that. Thank you.
Ron, 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 take a book. Ron, Ron. We're standing here at the gravesite of volunteer Sean Moore. Sean Moore was a native of Guildford, just outside Monaghan. He was interned the 9th of August 1971
with hundreds of other great Republicans. After Sean's release, he moved his family from Guildford up into here. He resumed his duties as an active volunteer in the Irish Republican Army. He died a few years ago, steadfast to the Republican cause. We'll ask John Joe McCusker, on behalf of Sinn Féin Republican, to lay a wreath. We'll ask the piper to play lament to the tip of the flag. Arrah.